And it is my pleasure to introduce to you my subjects today for the interview on Walla Walla Live. Robert Gordon is the city engineer for College Place and the brand new city manager, and I want you to help me with this, Mike Rizzitiello. How'd I do?
Good.
Okay. Scoot up, Mike. Some of you may not get the opportunity to drive through College Place since the new Cars project, but Mike is also new, and his office is open, and this is a chance for you to learn a little bit more about you. So, Mike, tell me this. Where were you born?
So I was born in Oaklawn, Illinois, which is a near southwest suburb of Chicago.
Okay. I can kind of, there's still a little bit of an accent there. And then, did you grow up in Oaklawn?
I grew up next door in Burbank, Illinois, which is just across 87th Street from Oaklawn.
I love how people that have an urban upbringing talk about streets and corners, and you know where it is. And then as far as education, where'd you go to school?
So I have a bachelor's degree in urban planning from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign.
Okay.
And then my graduate degree is in public administration with concentrations in local government, financial, and information technologies from the University of Illinois at Chicago.
Okay. So a lot of ats in those education systems, and that's fine. And so how did you get, because I think people are interested, how did you get from Illinois and around in that area? Where did your life take you?
So after grad school, as I'm sure you're aware of watching the news, things in Illinois are not all that great with the crime issues, joblessness, everything else. And my wife and I, we just did not see for a life of us a future there at the rate things were going. So I made a concerted effort to get where things are better, the quality of life. So I was looking around the Pacific Northwest area, and economic development position at Beaverton, Oregon showed up, and I applied for it and got it. And I was there for a couple of years, but as you know, the cost of living there is pretty out of control. Especially for someone who just got out of grad school and has student loans to pay. So I found myself at a point where I wasn't going to be able to essentially afford an apartment. So I was looking for something where we could live comfortably. And a position as a city administrator in Colfax, Washington. That's known as like the speed trap of Eastern Washington.
Many of us are very familiar with Colfax, and it is a when you really get off the highway and drive through, it's a nice little community.
It is.
And the same probably could be said for College Place. How long were you in Colfax?
I was there for 2.5 years.
And then the opportunity came to take over. Pat Ray had left the city manager's job in College Place, and you applied for that.
Yeah.
And there were others on a headhunting group that came in to be interviewed?
Oh, yeah. There were two other finalists. One was the Waitsburg city manager, and then the other was the community development director for Walla Walla County. But, luckily I was the top choice, so I'm here.
Well, that's great. Now, the big question is, does your wife like the region?
Oh, yeah, she loves it here.
Okay. College Place is a very supportive community, and there's a lot of things going on. We're going to talk about some of those things when we come back right after this. Hey, welcome back. Glad you're with us this morning. I had the opportunity to meet Mike Rizzitiello, who is the new city manager of College Place, and I thought you should meet him as well, so I brought him in. Also with him is Robert Gordon, who is the city engineer for the city of College Place, and you may have come across Robert Gordon because he's been around lately, especially with the conclusion of the Cars project. I know that there were some fits and starts and ups and downs, but we've reached the end of the road, have we, Robert?
Well, it depends on what the end of the road looks like.
Okay.
A lot of people ask, when is the project going to be completed? And there's actually 3 different ways that we look at completion for the project.
Are there different phases?
Yeah, there are. Well, in effect, under our contract, there's what's called substantial completion, and that's where we really have pretty much full use of the project. Not all the pieces are quite tied up.
Right.
Then we get to physical completion, where all of the physical work in the field is done and completed.
Yeah.
And then finally, you have project completion, where all the paperwork's done. So right now, we're moving into the substantial completion phase. We're almost there.
Well, remind the listeners just how big a project this is and what it encapsulates from where to where.
Well, it depends on if you're looking at it geographically or financially. Both ways, it's pretty big.
I'm talking geographically right now.
Okay, well, it goes all the way from Myra Road at Rose Street. It comes down all the way to College Avenue, then south all the way down to Lamperti, Montjonier. However, we also overlaid College Avenue all the way from that intersection on the south all the way down to SR 125. So it's a 2-mile plus project that we've been involved in.
And give people an idea of what the citizens of College Place are getting for what, because it was on their backs and they said, yes, we want to do this.
Yeah, actually, probably before I tell them what they're getting, we need to give them a big thank you for their patience.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a big project. It's been a long project. But what they're getting is really 2 miles of completely rebuilt infrastructure. So we're talking new water, new sewer, new stormwater, new streets, widened sidewalks, ornamental streetlights, intersection streetlights.
And these were desperately needed things. I know when Walla Walla underwent their project for downtown, they found surprises when they dug down a ways.
That's correct.
Did you guys find surprises?
Not nearly so many as we expected. I think at some level we were protected a bit by the old state highway that came through. It was a section of 20-plus wide feet of concrete, about 6 to 8 inches deep, depending on where you were. So what that did is it effectively protected placement of a lot of surprises over the years.
That's good.
So there were some, and we ran into a fuel tank, I think, near the University gas station there. And they took care of that fairly quickly. So there haven't been as many surprises. The real challenge has been in coordinating all of our utilities and making sure that everybody could work together well in the field.
Yeah, and that was a massive undertaking. And
Yes.
if there are people out there who haven't driven through College Place, or maybe it's just not on their way to anywhere and they don't think about it, I really enjoy driving through at dusk and the street lamps and the new streets. They're amazing. One more question before I get back to to Mike, the new city manager. You mentioned stormwater, and this is really, College Place is really going forward in a way they haven't in a while, because these are needs that have had to be addressed at some time.
Yeah, we received a letter several years ago from the Department of Ecology letting us know that we would be looking at being placed under what's called a National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit.
Whoa.
It's a mouthful, and it's also a fairly large effort on our part for a small community. But most of the communities our size, in fact, I would probably say all of them in the state, with the exception of ourselves, this size, are under a mandate already to comply with the permit. It's a federal regulation, and effectively it governs how and what kind of water quality we put back in our creeks and our streams.
Sure.
So we're moving forward in that. We're looking at having to be under that permit in 2019. So we're trying to get a jump on that. So at our council meeting last night, we even requested council authorization to go out for requests for proposals to start the planning process. So over the next 2 years, you'll see us making more and more strides in that direction. The final result, we hope, will be a regional stormwater system that people can tie into, so we can relieve individual property owners of having to comply.
Well, let's go back to Mike for just a second. Mike, as Robert mentions, the city council meeting was last night, and I asked you about some of the things that the council has going, and you mentioned a couple of things, and it may seem small to the listeners, but your first website? Is that what you said?
Well, currently we do have a website, but it's very outdated. Last time it was built was about 6 years ago. It's not very user-friendly, so the previous council meeting, City Council approved us going out to bid on a website, and it's currently being redeveloped as we speak. I would expect the new website will be released within the next quarter.
Okay. So people can look forward to that. And then you also mentioned that the city is trying some new and novel approaches. If I wanted to, could I have coffee with Harvey?
Yes. Yes. So we started a new program where once a month we are going to have an event called Coffee with the Mayor and the City Administrator, and so we're more publicly accessible to residents and they could express their concerns to us. And we're going to rotate them month to month between coffee places in the city, as well as have 1 month be in the evening, 1 month be in the morning, and then back and forth, so that way we catch both crowds. The inaugural one will be tomorrow night at 5 p.m. at the Black Cup, which is immediately next door to City Hall.
Just on College Avenue.
Yep.
And if people go, and I hope you have a great turnout, but the whole idea here is for them maybe to meet you and maybe to meet Harvey for the first time, who is your mayor?
Yep. And he's relatively new as well. I believe he was sworn in July. Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Harvey was a longtime county official with the health department. And so they can meet you and they can meet Harvey and they can ask questions about what's going to be going on. A question like I'm going to ask you now.
Okay.
When you and your wife arrived here from Colfax and took a look, I mean, you had to physically drive around and see the area. And maybe get into the weeds a little bit, but what kind of vision did you have for the area?
Well, I saw a lot of potential here because you have a lot of available land, you have a good diversity of housing stock, and then with the CARS project, you have what really is a good footprint for a nice walkable downtown district. So I believe going into a future for College Avenue, we're really going to be looking at that as far as making it into more of a downtown district, although still mixed use, but downtown district and campus town as well that's supportive of the students.
There's one real big thing that I never think of when about College Place, but we're going to find out what that is right after this. Hey, what you're doing is you're joining us for a conversation with the new city executive for College Place, Mike Rizzitiello, and also our engineer, the College Place engineer, Robert Gordon. Glad to have you fellows with me today. A couple of things that we've established already. The city council met last night. There is going to be a new website soon. We're going to talk social media, but before we broke last time, you shocked me. Is it true that College Place is going to have hotels, motels, and places for people to stay?
Yes. We are working on an agreement right now. I can't really release who the hotel
that's
is.
Fine.
But there is a hotel looking at being built over by Les Schwab and Del Taco, so along Lamperti over there.
Sure.
And to capitalize on that, last night the city council passed a hotel motel tax, and that's of 4%. And that money, it isn't a tax grab where it just gets into the general fund. The nice thing is with the hotel motel tax is per state statute, it's restricted to doing activities that help bring people into the city. So events, capital assets that help with tourism, marketing.
So it's what they call heads in beds, and when people come, there's a small tax attached to their stay, and then the money raised from that isn't just dumped into the general fund for snow removal. It's put in a designated lockbox for a specific type of activities.
Yes.
it's going to be pretty neat. Now, we just have a little bit of time left. Talk about social media.
So when I got in College Place, I found out the city had no social media presence whatsoever, and that was a significant disconnect with quite a bit of our residents, since that's where they mainly get their news.
Sure.
So the previous council meeting, City Council adopted a social media policy, and since that time we have established pages on Facebook, Nextdoor, which is a social media thing for neighbors, and then Twitter and LinkedIn. So we're releasing all of our meetings, everything on that.
And you're kind of catching up
Yep.
with, I'm sorry to say, sort of the rest of
Yep.
the region, and that's
Yeah.
a good thing. Which brings us to your strategic plan. Now, you told me off mic that this is something pretty new.
Yeah. In prior years, there was some strategic planning, but it was done internally within the city, and that isn't what I would view as a strategic plan. You want to go out in the community and understand what people want in the future. So the last council meeting, there was a contract that was approved with Lawson Knight, and he will be helping us do a strategic plan, and there will be community events, 4 of them throughout the city. It will be released on social media and the website, and we'll put a press release in the papers where we'll have community meetings to understand what is everyone's vision for the future, and then that way the staff can work toward implementing that, because right now there has really been no deep strategic plan here, which is problematic.
Sure. Any city would need that. Let's give the mic back to Robert. Go ahead. Did you raise your hand?
Actually, I didn't, but I
No. But
but I did have something to say.
Yes. All right.
I think, with Mike joining the city and with Cars Project nearing completion, almost done, it's been part of our intent as a community to kind of make sure that we're doing our part for the region and area, so that what City of College Place is doing is hopefully raising the water level for everybody, and all boats float when
Sure.
you have a rising tide. So we're thinking that this and our efforts here are going to help tie in not only for ourselves but for the region as a whole, and we're excited to be able to kind of up the ante for that part of the effort.
what's really exciting is, and I mentioned to this, both of you guys off mic, is that College Place hasn't really had a profile that was, that stood out. It was there and people were aware, and we may go to Lions Park for a picnic, but it didn't have much of a profile. And what I'm hearing you say is through social media, through events that you've and
We're
construction.
establishing an identity that can help regionally as well, so that we're not just the bedroom neighborhood next door. We're somebody that we can actually bring forward some advantages and some attractions to the folks who are visiting.
Well, we're out of time, but I want to thank Mike